A very good Sunday afternoon to you, brothers and sisters in Christ. This is your friend, Vocation Director, Father Adam McDonald, coming to you from a surprisingly mild and sunny Epworth, Iowa, on this third Sunday of Easter in the afternoon. And as we reflected today in the Gospel on the two disciples of Jesus on the road to Emmaus, I thought it would be appropriate to share this video reflection with you as I myself journey and walk this afternoon on our seminary grounds. Some interesting thoughts to share with you, some inspiration from the Gospel today. It seems that we are very much in line with those two disciples who were journeying some 7 miles from Jerusalem to Emmaus. We may feel that though we haven't walked 7 miles, it has been about 7 weeks or so of stay-at-home orders, lockdowns, and quarantines. It may feel that we've traveled much farther than 7 miles. But in that, given that we've been on this journey, we, like the disciples, may have been struggling to recognize and to see Christ present to us in the midst of the stress, the anxiety, the uncertainty, and the fear that so many of us have been and continue to experience during this unprecedented time of pandemic. That being said, there are sort of 3 movements I would invite us to consider and ponder from the Gospel reading today, given the image that we are on a journey, and so 3 movements. The first would be the recognition that it was not the disciples who took the initiative at first in reaching out to Jesus, but that Jesus drew near to them as they walked. This is a reminder to me that in everything we do and all the efforts we make to communicate and reach out to God in our lives, we are truly responding to initiative God has already taken to first reach out to us. And God's drawing near to us and being present to us doesn't even depend on our recognizing it, deserving it. We can't earn it. All we can do is ask God to help open our eyes and the eyes of our hearts to recognize it. So that's the first movement, that we allow and open ourselves to the presence of Christ who desires to draw near to us. The second movement I invite us to reflect upon is, once Jesus had drawn near to the disciples, how did they respond? Their hearts were moved. Their hearts were burning within them. They responded by drawing closer to Jesus himself and opening themselves perhaps more truthfully, more fully and authentically, by sharing with Jesus their pain and the disappointment and disillusionment they had experienced in the previous days because of Jesus' death and crucifixion. It seems to me that in my life, I often go to God with my victories, with my successes, and all the good things I think that would please God. But it's not as often that I feel comfortable going to God in my pain, my brokenness, and my fear. And so what I take from this gospel today is the invitation to know that we can draw near to God and come close to God even in the midst of our disappointment, our brokenness, our shame, our guilt, and our pain. God accepts all of this, and we are called to draw close to God even in the midst of a stress and uncertainty of a pandemic. The third and final movement I'll invite you to consider in our gospel today is that once Jesus had drawn near to the disciples and they responded by drawing closer to him and opening themselves to him more fully and more authentically, you notice that there was this final movement where they wasted no time in journeying back to Jerusalem to tell others that they had seen the Lord and to be his witnesses. And so this reminds me that as members of the baptized faithful, we, like those disciples, are also called to recognize that we are sent on mission into the world to be witnesses of God's love. Now, for a vocation director like me, who's used to doing that around the country much of the time, driving here, flying there, it's a bit of a different context to find out and to think about how I might do that when I'm locked down and quarantined at home. But just because I can't go out doesn't mean I can't reach out and reach into the lives of others, even virtually through means like this video. Sometimes it may seem easier to reach out to serve and to love the people we meet once and don't see again. And perhaps one of the great challenges of this time in our response to be missionary disciples is to be able to do acts of love and service for those with whom we live, for those who may try our patience as we spend more time together, not by choice, which the situation is calling us to. And within that last insight, just to call attention to the fact that it was when the disciples offered an act of hospitality and kindness to invite Jesus to stay with them and share a meal that they were able to recognize Jesus present in their midst. So let us not overlook the importance and impact of our own simple acts of hospitality, kindness, and generosity, which truly can make a difference in transforming us and transforming the lives of those around us. It may be wearing a mask, or disinfecting our hands, or keeping our appropriate social distance. It may be a call or a text, or reaching out to someone for whom we can buy some groceries or pick up some medicine. All these simple acts can have profound impacts for our brothers and sisters. So with that, I leave you with my thoughts, prayers, and blessings on this beautiful Sunday. Remember that we're in this together, that God is close to us, and so we draw close to God so that God can use us to continue bringing the awareness of His presence in those places where people's eyes and hearts are close to it. Have a wonderful Sunday. God bless. Stay healthy. Talk to you again soon.